Hello and welcome back to SlearnGrid.com. In this lecture, we're going to learn about inheritance. Okay, so you might be familiar with the word called inheritance, right? So basically, as a son or daughter, you can inherit the property from your parents, right? Simple as that. So what is inheritance in programming language? Well, inheritance programming language is basically a relation between two classes where a child class inherits all the features of its parent class. Okay? So being a child class, you can basically inherit all the features of the parent class. Okay? So methods from the parent can be overridden in the child and the new logic can be added. Okay? Let's say that your parent class have certain methods. Okay? So now you can create a child class and use the same method, but you can change the method's output. Right? So that's the benefit of the using inheritance, right? So you get all the properties from parents, but you can tweak the way you need it. Okay, so I'll give you an example of what inheritance is, right? In programming. So let's say you got the person class here, right? So person can be a student or employee or anything, right? So here I've got only, let's say, got two types of person, student and employee. Okay, so basically here the student is a child class of person. Okay, similarly, employee is also the child class of person. So here person is like a super class. Okay, so now here if you look in here student, so you can have an IT student or you can have a science student, right? So similarly your employee can be a teacher, it can be an HR or utility person, right? So here now your IT is child class of student. Okay, your science is child class of student. So here student is your superclass of IT. Student here is a superclass of science. Okay. Similarly here, teacher is a child class of employee, and employee is the parent class or superclass of teacher. So HR is the child class of employee. Employee is a parent class or superclass of HR. Utility is a child class of employee, and employee is the superclass or parent class of utility, right? And person is like the superclass of student or parent class of student. Employee person is also a parent or the superclass of employee. Okay, that's the diagram, like architecture of this diagram here. Okay, and as programming languages, person is an object, student is an object, employee is an object, IT is an object, science is everything is an object. Okay, so with the help of the benefit of object-oriented programming is basically you can use this inheritance feature. So now a student being the child class of person, you can inherit all the properties, all the methods of person class. Similarly, employee can also inherit all the properties and features of this person class. Similarly here, IT can get all the properties from a student. Okay, science can also inherit all the properties of a student. Teacher also inherits all the property of employee. HR also inherits all the property of employee. Utility also inherits all the properties of employee. Okay, so I'll give you an example here. Okay, so you can see here this box is a parent or a base class or a superclass. Okay, so here I've got this initialize method. Okay, I got instance variable width and height. Okay, which is equal to width and height equal h, which is height. I've got this instance method display underscore box underscore name. Okay, basically it prints out I'm box class. So you can see here this is the parent class or base class or superclass, whatever you want to name. Okay, now I'm going to create a child class here. Okay, so here I've got this small box, okay, which is my child class, and you can see this what do you call that, less than. Okay, syntax here, that means that you're actually inheriting this box parent class. Okay, small box with this sign here box means that you are actually small box is a child of this parent class box. Okay, so now I've got this method here print underscore area. So basically, let's say for the small box, the area is width underscore height. Simple as that. And it prints out area of the small boxes, whatever the area is. Okay. And also, let's say I've got another instance method display underscore price, and it's going to say my price is 1200. Okay, just giving you a very basic example here. And now I've got the other objects here, big box. Okay, which is also a child class of box. How do I know it's a child class? Because I've got this big box and it's less than a box. Okay, it's the syntax here This means it inherits box. Okay, it's not less than. It's actually class big box inherits box class. Okay, so here this big box is also the inheriting the box parent class. So big box is a child class of this box parent class. And here I've got the constructor method with volume, width, and height. Okay, you see the difference here in the small box. I did not have it. However, in the big box, I've got volume, width, and height. Okay, so here basically you can see a box has its own constructor method, but I override that constructor method, creating my own constructor method for big box. Okay, and here I've got the volume in this. So in this print underscore area, okay, I'm actually creating an area. Let's say width, height, and volume. Okay, all right, and it says big box area is that. Okay, so I created a parent class and two child class. How do I know it's a child class? Because it has the symbol here, which means it inherits. Okay, it says this class inherits the parent class, which is box. Okay, so how do we create an object for that? Okay, so first I'm going to create an object called b1, and because when you create an object, you're going to do class.new, and here this box class requires two parameters, width and height. So 12, let's say I've got my width 12 and 15 as height. So when I do display box name here, it's going to say I'm box class, right? As simple as that. Okay, so now I'm going to create an object from this child class. I'm going to say b2 equals smallbox.new. Okay, so here I do not have initialize method, but this small box inherits big box, right? Inherits the big box. That means this small box, this is my child class, also requires two parameters, because small box is a child class of box, and this box, when you create an object, you require two parameters. That's why whenever you create an object, you're going to require two parameters here. So that's why it's got 12 and 15 here. So when I do b2._display_box_name, you can see here, this is the method of the parent class. I'm able to call it creating an object from this child class, right? The b2 is smallbox.new. So this is the object from this small box child class. However, I was able to call this method here. Okay, you see the benefit of creating a child class or using inheritance? So I can create like a basic parent class, and I could create n number of objects, and I could create a child class, and I can call that parent class method here. So here, I'm basically saying b2.displayBox_name. So here I'm calling this method here, which is in the parent class. And it's going to say I'm box class. It's going to display I'm box class. The second one here, I'm going to say display_price. Okay, which is this one here, this method, which is also the method of this child class. So it's going to say my price is 1200. And also I'm going to b2_print_area. It's going to call this method. And it's going to say one area of the small box is 180, because your instance variable at area equal to at width, which is this instance variable, and height. So you provided that here. 12 times 15 is 180. Okay, so now I create another object here, b3, which is the object from this big box class. Okay, bigbox.new. But you can see here, this big box object, or the instance of this class, requires three parameters. Why it requires only 2 and 3 here? So basically what this one is, you're overriding the constructor method here. Okay, when you create initialize in your child class, this one overrides the parent class. Okay, so here you're going to need 3 parameters. So here I've got 40, 24, and 30. So it's going to say I can, although I've got this big box and it requires 3 parameters, I can still call this method here, display_box_name. I do that, it's going to say I'm box class. And I do b3.print_area. Okay, here it's going to say big box area is 28800. So 40 times 24 times 30 is this one. Okay, so basically I was able to create child class, two child class, create parent class, create an object for a parent class, create an object for each child class. However, with the object from the child class, I was able to call this method here, and I was able to use the instance variable as well, right? So with inheritance, you create a parent class or base class or super class, then you create n number of child classes, and you can use the property or the instance variable from the parent class. Okay, and you can also call the methods from the parent class. Okay, so basically you're inheriting all the properties, variables, methods. Okay, so if you're a child, you have access to all your properties and the methods from the base class or the parent class. Okay, so we're going to go through some examples and be more clear.